So this next speaker is a serial entrepreneur and CEO of BrandXR, a full-service AR/VR platform for businesses. Now, prior to BrandXR, this gentleman founded Powers VR, where he built a multi-million-dollar virtual reality headset and mobile accessory business. Before that, he led investments in Meta, Sidecar, and Genius, formerly Rap Genius. Shout out to our family of company, right? At Finnox Venture Capital. Now, with a background in venture capital, business development, and marketing, they specialize in finding profitable strategies for emerging technologies. A former Wayne State University, go Warriors, football player, he recently moved back to Detroit to strengthen the tech community and play a role in this city's resurgence. Please make some noise for one of Detroit's own, and here to talk about augmented and virtual reality innovation use cases. Make some noise for Moody!
Thank you. Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Hey, I'm really happy to be here in my hometown of Detroit. Before I get started, I want everyone to kind of take part in this interactive presentation. So if at any point you get bored and need a little bit of a pick-me-up, this t-shirt that I'm wearing is actually an augmented reality tee. Augmented reality tee. So you can download the Electrifly app. It's an augmented reality art app that we created. It's called Electrifly, E-L-E-C-T-R-I-F-L-Y, Electrifly. It's free, and you can scan my t-shirt and make this pizza come to life. So, but yeah, a little bit background about me. My big kind of aha moment where I really got into the virtual reality and augmented reality field happened when I was working as an associate at a venture capital firm. And one of the very first investments that I looked at was in a company called Meta. And Meta had made an augmented reality headset, and very similar to the Microsoft HoloLens. Actually, up here is the new version of the Meta. The headset that I tried out back in 2013 looked nothing like this. It was a total prototype that was hacked together, but they showed enterprise use cases with this technology that really got my mind running. So one of the first demos that they showed was a jet engine went down, and a technician was new on the job. He didn't know how to fix the engine, so he put on the headset, and it used computer vision to identify the problem and help him work through the solution. And this was incredible for me, and we ended up investing in this company, and from then I kind of had my eyes set on the field of AR and VR. From this, I went to start a Google Cardboard company called Powers VR, and we were kind of the cherry on top of a lot of VR marketing campaigns. So companies would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars building the VR content, and then they would need a way to get that content in the hands of their target audience. So they had to provide these Google Cardboard headsets. These were the kind of the early days of VR. And that's when I came up with the concept for BrandXR. I kind of noticed that businesses needed help using these new technologies to really impact their bottom line. So before I get started, I wanted to just clear up some definitions because these things can get confusing. In the field, there's AR, VR, MR, and then something they just made up called XR. So just by a show of hands, how many people here have tried virtual reality? Wow, that's pretty good. How about augmented reality? Okay, about the same. How about mixed reality? That's a little bit lower. Okay. So just so we are clear on definitions, virtual reality is when you're wearing a headset and you're completely immersed inside of a virtual environment. So this is all either computer generated or 360 content captured. Whereas in augmented reality, you still see the real world, but there's a layer of digital information that's overlaid on top of the real world. So that's augmented reality. And mixed reality, which is kind of the furthest along in the technology-wise, mixed reality is where digital objects and the real world are kind of intertwined, and the digital objects can actually interact with the real world. So the best example of this comes from a company called Magic Leap, and this is a famous Magic Leap whale demo. Magic Leap is a top secret mixed reality company. They're making their own mixed reality headset along with the software, and they've raised over $2 billion to try to accomplish this. So here you can see in the demo, there's the whale that's actually landing on the gym floor and then splashing back up. So good example of a digital object interacting with the real world. So I wanted to kind of chart out where we are in the field of AR and VR right now. So just bear with me for a little bit, giving some market overview, and then we're going to dig into the fun stuff. So, history will show us that technology comes in waves, and the digital era really came in with the PC wave. And then came wave for the internet, and then mobile. And the next big platform shift is going to be to augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality. So on each of these platforms, they have a long lifespan. I mean, we're still buying PCs today. So there's still companies in that PC space that are making money and adding value. So these are very long-term platforms. But the next is going to be AR, VR, and MR. So you can see a lot of the big tech companies that we know today are investing in AR, VR technologies. Facebook, Microsoft, Google, all of these large companies have a horse in the AR, VR race. Today, the market is around $20 billion, and it's expected to quadruple it up to $80 billion in just 2 years, with augmented reality taking a lion's share of that. So augmented reality in 2020 is expected to be a $60 billion market. So this technology right now is kind of making its way into the real world and into different companies. It's going to explode. So now I want to kind of go over some innovation use cases and how companies are using augmented reality. And one of the best use cases for AR is visualization. With augmented reality, you can now visualize things that were never there. You can visualize what products look like on you. You can visualize what products look like in your space. And that's really big for a lot of people. One of the best examples of this is IKEA's Place App. So IKEA has created an app where they've digitized their entire inventory and created 3D models of these. And they now allow prospective customers to place this furniture inside their own spaces. So what does this desk look like in my office? What does this sofa look like in my kitchen? Or not in my kitchen, in my living room. They do have apps for appliances, so that happens as well. But what they're finding out is that these sort of applications are really working. So House, the online discovery platform for home improvement, they have also created an augmented reality app that allows you to visualize different products in your home. They have stated that their AR app has increased conversions by 11 times that of their website. And people are spending 3 times longer in their AR app than on their website. So the engagement is going through the roof. Another thing is that on the business side, it's decreasing returns because people know exactly what the products look like in their own house. When it shows up, there's no surprises. So this is really a killer application for the retail industry. So now just about every major retailer has an augmented reality app that will allow you to visualize their products either on you or in your own home. So all of these major players here have augmented reality apps. This stuff works so well that we're seeing a lot of M&A in this space. So Williams-Sonoma, they bought a 3D modeling company just so they can take models of all of their furniture and use these in their augmented reality apps. So they bought this company for $112 million. Another great example of how furniture is being visualized comes from Softbees International Realty. So they have created an app that gets rid of the home staging issues. So with this app, you can now stage an empty home. And so, me personally, my parents have just been trying to sell their house, and so I know how expensive this stuff can be. And what you see here is me actually using this app inside of the home. So the bed here is a totally digital bed. I'm not the best interior designer, so I don't know about the placement, but here's another example of what a bed set kind of looks like in the room. But this can really help potential home buyers visualize, hey, this is what my new bedroom is going to look like. This is what my new living room is going to look like. So these are a few different examples. I think I'd probably go with this one. This is a nice Zen vibe. In all of these use cases, I want to provide data. So I'm a business person at heart, so I have to provide data to kind of prove these things. So the average cost of a home staging in the US is about $2,000. This app, we estimate at BrandXR on the high end would cost something around $200,000. So Sotheby's would break even essentially at 100 home stages. And they probably do that internationally within an hour. So this is really adding a ton of value to their company. A great example of how visualization is used in the field of automotive comes from Porsche. So Porsche has created an app for their new Mission E, and this is Porsche's all-electric supercar. They're billing this as the Tesla killer. So this is an augmented reality app where you can place the car down on the ground in front of you. This is actually outside our office in Dearborn. And you can check out the different features of the car. You can change the colors. You can actually go inside of it. Here you're kind of learning about the dynamics of the car and how long it gets on a range. And then at the end, what's really cool is you can actually take your new car for a little bit of a test drive. So they have like a augmented reality driving game for you to drive your new Porsche you just created. So this is all done on mobile. This is using Apple's AR kit. And I think they have it on Google as well for Google's AR Core. Another cool example of how Porsche is using augmented reality in the enterprise comes from their maintenance department. So their maintenance department has bought these ODG augmented reality headsets, and they've given them to their technicians. These are about $3,000 headsets, and they've given them to their mechanics, and they will remote assist in an engineer, and he will help diagnose the problem faster and give that engineer on site more help to fix this problem. So this is making their maintenance facilities much more efficient. In fact, it's cutting down on service times by 40%. And so now if you have a Porsche, you're getting your car back faster, you're a happier customer, and they're making their maintenance people more efficient and running a more efficient maintenance business. A great application for visualization is in the beauty industry. So this is actually my little sister here in this app. So Shout out to Sarah for letting me put her face on this and show this to a bunch of people. But here she is trying on a bunch of different makeup in Sephora's beauty app. And what's really cool about this app is you can try on a whole bunch of individual products. So you could try on a lipstick, maybe a blush, maybe eyeliner, or you can try on full looks that come from these brands as well. So maybe you want to try on a complete Maybelline look, and then you like how all these products look on you. You can press one button, buy, and then kind of complete that transaction. So this is really a killer app for the beauty industry. The data point here that I wanted to share with you is pretty huge. It's 30% sales growth overall. And so a company called Moody is the one who pitched Sephora on this augmented reality app. And when they pitched them on a 30% overall growth in their app sales, mobile app sales. And that company, Moody has now went on to get a bunch of the major makeup companies. Companies like Maybelline and L'Oreal. In fact, it's been working so good that L'Oreal bought this company, Moody. So again, what you're seeing in this space is that companies are really finding out what use cases work for augmented reality, and they're really ramping up on those capabilities. A really cool example of augmented reality from the healthcare field comes from a company called Accuvein. So Accuvein, they read the heat signature of your veins, and then they digitally image your veins. So this will lead to a 3 times more likelihood of a first needle stick. So people don't have to, keep getting stabbed over and over and over again when you're getting shots. And so this is something, I know if you're overweight or for whatever reasons you have trouble finding your veins, this is something that can really be a painful experience. And so this is a really cool product that is helping to solve that problem. So this is kind of the second big way I think augmented reality is being used today, and that's to make dumb objects smart. So has anyone here seen 19 Crimes Wine? Okay. So do you like 19 Crimes Wine, or have you just seen it? It's kind of crappy wine, right? But you all know about it. It's because of their AR app. 19 Crimes Wine is a $15 bottle of wine. It's your run-of-the-mill bottle of wine. And the whole idea behind their brand is these are the 19 crimes that have gotten these people banished from Britain to Australia. And so they've created an augmented reality experience where you can scan each wine bottle, and each wine bottle has one criminal story. So you have to collect all of the wine bottles to kind of solve the mystery, sort of like the old school Monopoly and McDonald's games. So this is something that's been super successful for them. They have a bunch of big stands in liquor stores and also bigger retailers. So this is a good example of how AR is being used in the food and beverage industry. This company has actually, it's kind of a wine conglomerate. They own a bunch of different wine brands, and they also have one for Walking Dead, and one that's a little bit more kind of art-oriented. So the data point here is, these are pretty cheap bottles of wine, but if you collect all 19, that's a pretty big lifetime value for that customer. And I personally know people who have gone out and bought cases of this stuff to show people. So when they're into it, they're really into it. Another great example of making a dumb object smart comes from Apple. And this is really a real estate example. What Apple has done with their One Infinity Loop campus is created an augmented reality experience using their AR kit to visualize. This is exactly how their new, I think it's a $1.1 billion campus is going to look. They have $180 million Steve Jobs Theater there. It's super impressive. And so you can check out really all of the features of this new $1 billion campus through their augmented reality app. And what's really cool about this is, if you can see up here, it's really an interactive experience. So they have a giant model that really doesn't have a lot of detail, but once you point the augmented reality app at this model, you can really see what the buildings will look like and kind of explore the different features of them. And what I like about it is it's really interactive, so you can have multiple users checking out the same experience, but everyone is kind of in their own part of the virtual tour, let's call it. So this is our personal example of making dumb objects smart. So a little bit ago, my brother, he started this company called ODRD. He wanted to create a clothing company. Turns out selling clothes is pretty freaking hard. And so one of the things he sold was hats. People seemed to really like the hats. And then he started selling these pins that he would put on the hats. And people love the pins and they love the hats, so kind of ditched the clothes and went more towards the pins and merch. But what he does is he works with different artists to kind of bring their work to life through augmented reality. So this is actually the pizza that will pop up if you scan my shirt. And this design here is from Jimbo Phillips. He is kind of a famous artist out in Santa Cruz, California. He's famous in the skate art world for the Screaming Hand. And with Electrifly, really what we're trying to do is take these kind of typical merchandise products that you would see at a concert or a music festival and really make them come to life and make them more engaging for the fans. So one of the recent experiences we did was for Movement, the big electronic music festival downtown. So we partnered up with them and made some augmented reality merch, hats, pins, t-shirts, some stuff like that. And what's cool about this on the brand side is that we can program in the different images that we want their sort of logo animation to pop up with, and it will work on anything. As long as that image is recognized, it will work. So this Movement logo worked on business cards, it worked on their website, it worked on their banners, it worked on most of their merchandise. For any image tracker that we put in, it would work for. And so the data point here for Electrifly is when we drop some of these pins, we'll drop kind of limited edition merch. We'll sell almost 100 an hour. And so we have a pretty loyal following for this stuff. And because they're all limited edition, they tend to sell out pretty quickly. So one of the really cool things we're doing with Electrify is an augmented reality mural. And we were inspired by Eastern Market. So I came back to Detroit and I saw kind of all of the cool stuff going on in Eastern Market. And back in 2009 when I went to Wayne State, there was really no reason to go to Eastern Market or hang out there. And now it's such a cool, vibrant area. People are all around. And we noticed that the art had a lot to do with it. The art was really driving traffic to Eastern Market. But one of the things we noticed is, maybe it was getting them there to the market, but it wasn't getting them actually that last mile into the door of these local shops. So we were thinking, maybe we can create an augmented reality experience that can get people to kind of go that last mile and actually go into that shop. And so that's what we're doing here. This is a mural that's on the Elephant Room. It's a new bar that's opening up kind of in the Greektown area. It's right next to St. Andrew's Hall. And their elephant, or their logo is a three-headed elephant. So this mural is kind of a rendition of their elephant. And so this elephant is going to come to life. And then also at the end, it will kind of nudge them with a special offer saying, you know, hey, would you like to try an entree for 50% off, or would you like a free shot with, you know, your first purchase, or something like that, because it's a bar. So actually trying to get people to go in that last mile to these local businesses. So because this is a UI UX conference, I did want to kind of dive in a little bit to how we create these experiences at Electrify. So, you know, first thing is we kind of will build the 3D models of the 2D artwork that we get. So a lot of the artists we work with are kind of traditional 2D artists. We want to bring their art to life. So we will make 3D models of their work. So to kind of give you an idea of the technology stack that this is built on, these are mobile apps. We're using a game engine, so most of the augmented reality and virtual reality experiences you see are built inside game engines. Unity and Unreal are the two big ones. So good way to compare the two. Unity is like any mobile game, like a Candy Crush is going to be Unity, and then Unreal is something a little bit more high-end, like Call of Duty or Halo, one of those kind of AAA games. So these are created in game engines, and we create the 3D models. What you see up here with the gray image is the image target test. So this is the image recognition software that we use. And this is how we can tell if this image is going to be a good target. So what we use is called Vuforia. And we plug this into Vuforia, and Vuforia will tell us all those little yellow dots on there, those are unique points. And so that's a pretty good image target because it tracks all the unique points on it. After we create the model, we'll then rig it and then start building in the animations and putting it inside of the game engine. And so this is kind of what you see here. This is the Electrify bug. So that's the logo. And then with augmented reality, I kind of like to say that the real world is your canvas. So unlike a mobile app where it's kind of static and you have your limitations, with augmented reality, kind of the world is your playland. And with that comes real world things like the sun. And so if you have a shine on your sticker or a shine on your pin and the sun hits it the wrong way, your augmented reality experience is not going to show up. So you can't make shiny pins with augmented reality. We learned that. So, you know, these are real world ways that you have to test your AR products. So another really cool example of making dumb products smart that we're working on is augmented reality bobbleheads. So, you know, bobbleheads are an old pastime of baseball fans. But what we're really trying to do, and it's kind of proliferated into other sports and even pop culture, but we're working with the largest reseller of bobbleheads, and we're creating an augmented reality application to create these AR bobbleheads. I actually have a meeting with the Tigers this afternoon, and I'm going to show off this Cabrera bobblehead, so hopefully they like it, fingers crossed. But yeah, what we're doing here is really trying to enhance the bobblehead and get people to engage more with a dumb object. So what we're using here is kind of two things. We're using image recognition and we're using object recognition. And both of these things you can do inside of Vuforia. Vuforia is nice to build in because you can build once in Vuforia and then deploy to both Android and iOS. So it's kind of build once mentality. But here, what we're doing is we're showing off different statistics with these bobbleheads, news about the players, and then highlights. And these are updated daily. So these will be kind of daily highlights and statistics that we will show. So kind of starting off with bobbleheads, we're looking into doing toys and maybe some other things. So this is something we have on the horizon. And I just wanted to end with this quote, and then we'll kind of open it up for Q&A. But this is one of my favorite quotes from Microsoft CEO. So the true scarce commodity of the near future will be human attention. So if we think about that, we're kind of in this generation where we see like a 10-second pre-roll on YouTube, pre-roll ad, and we can't wait to get out of it. We're like, oh, get out of this ad, oh my God. And that's kind of the experiences that we have. We hate to be bothered by these ads. We put ad blocks on our browsers. We do all these things. And then you see these really cool experiences like a Snapchat. And all of a sudden, I'm putting a taco on my face, and I'm playing with it for like a minute, and I don't even care that it's a Taco Bell ad. And I send it to 100 of my friends. And they do the same thing. They send it to 50 of their friends. And this is how these augmented reality experiences and digital experiences are really making their way into the real world. They're really much more engaging. They engage our minds more. And really consume our attention kind of more than any other media. And there's been studies to back that up, but I didn't want to totally bore you with all the stats. But this is a field that I think has a lot of promise in the future. So happy to talk more and answer any questions.
All right, let's give it up for Moody. Right. Way to kick it off, man. That was an incredible presentation. Very cool. Immediately you had speaking of attention, when you came out and said, download the app, and my shirt transforms. I was like, what? I put it on my phone, I downloaded it. I was like, oh my God. So I want to see what's up. But I forgot what we were doing. All right, sorry. So, yeah, Q&A portion. So if you have any questions at all, if you are a member of the FOC, you probably have seen one of these before, Catchbox. If you are not from the FOC, this little device is a microphone. So I am going to toss it to the first person who has a question. I ask that you introduce yourself, let us know the company that you're representing, and kick off with your question. So who's up first? All right, so I'm an underhand, I'm coming straight to you. Nice throw. See me? I'm gonna leave it out. It's in the follow-up.
Do I have to stand? I'm Robert. I'm from QL, do market research. So I'm curious, from a statistics standpoint, your market for this type of stuff, because it seems like it would have to be a very young audience that has this type of technology, this phone. And I was curious, are you seeing this expand to other markets, or where do you go from here? Or are you just focusing on the one market you have? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for Brand VR, we're kind of focused on all enterprise applications. So it's a little bit easier in the enterprise, because in the enterprise you can prove out these certain use cases, and you can prove, like in the Softbees example, that this makes sense for your business. You will save a ton of money on home stagings if you do it this new way. And once you can kind of present a business use case like this in the enterprise, a lot of times you can push those things through. On the consumer side, like when we're talking about Snapchat, you're definitely seeing a millennial kind of generation, a younger generation there, kind of millennial and under, especially if brands want to reach that specific audience. Like they will go Snapchat first before going to Facebook. Because that's where their users are. Like my sister, she just turned 20. This girl on Snapchat is unreal. I'm talking, 20 messages a minute sort of thing. Snapchat is the main way she talks to her friends. And that's, that's kind of that generation. So if you want to reach that audience, you have to be on these platforms. So when I showed the platform waves, the kind of common theme among all of those is that businesses had to jump on those platforms to reach their target audience. Back in the 90s, there was businesses saying, why do I need the website? Why do I need a website? I'm in the yellow pages. Whereas like today, if you don't have a website, you're invisible as a business. And so, people will have to jump to these new platforms.
All right. Who's got another question for Moody? All right, so this is on you. Yes, this is on you.
Oh, that was good.
There you go.
There we go. Hey, Brian Zimlowski, Quicken Loans. So from the consumer-facing side, if we're asking the consumer to download this app to look at cool T-shirts, look at pins, how do you get that to happen? And how do people understand and recognize that that is something that is, AR applicable? Because obviously if you have things like Snap and other things, you have it and you expect those things, but to download something separately, get it to stay on their phone, get them to interact with it, use that, how?
Yeah, it's tough. So there's kind of, taking a step back, there's two, main ways you can deploy AR on mobile today. So one is through an app. That's the best way. That's kind of the most powerful way. You can create the most powerful experiences that way. And then the second way is you can do it through the web. So I can give you a URL, and I can create an AR experience inside of a website, but it's not as powerful today. That's just kind of the current limitations of the tech. But most brands, they will create their own app and then they will market that app kind of through their own channels. Either that or jump on a larger platform like a Snapchat. But when you do that, those large platforms will cost you. So for example, to launch a nationwide Snapchat lens in augmented reality starts per day at $300,000. So you could create your own augmented reality app with tons of experiences for that amount and just market it to your own channels. So it's kind of a choice you have to make right now.
Red or blue pill? We got another question? Thought I saw a hand up top.
Oh.
Yeah. We'll take the last question, will be you. Look at that.
All right. My name's Laura, and I work for Quicken Loans on the content strategy team. So a couple of years ago, I was looped into a project to possibly launch some sort of VR thing because we had the Google Box cardboard things, and it was kind of, I don't think it went anywhere. But my question is kind of coming to me as I'm talking out loud is we couldn't come up with a good idea, and people are like, oh, wouldn't people want to see our offices? And I'm like, no, I don't want to see Wells Fargo's offices. What makes Quicken Loans so special? So I guess I'm curious about, we don't sell houses, we sell mortgages to get you into a house. So when you're selling something that's less tangible, how do you kind of move into that VR space? Can you give any examples perhaps? I'll take my question off.
Give you some ideas. I think ultimately what you're doing is you're selling kind of selling the dream, right? Selling the American dream. I want to own my own property. I want to have my own space. I want to have my own house. And nowadays it's I want to have a badass man cave. I want to have a pool. I want to have this and that. So maybe it's selling that dream and helping people visualize hey, this is where I could be if I used Quicken Loans. Maybe something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I know it was hard for us to figure out too.
Yeah, so actually, taking a look at our question clock, we actually have some more time. So if there are any questions that anyone has, now would be the time. We got Moody here, 2 hands shot straight in the air, let's do it. Oh no.
Hello.
Does it still work?
Hello? Can you? Yeah. All right, Raymond S. Brown III. I work for the Cavaliers. The question I have was more in the animations that you showed. A lot of them were more 360 rig. 3D rig. Do you guys do any 2D animation or anything like that, or do you always focus on more 3D structured items?
Yeah. Well, we really what we're trying to do at BrandXR is kind of always trying to push the limits forward, and that's more into the 3D animations. We can do the 2D animations, but there's also ways we can explore putting kind of 2D animations in a real world environment, so making those 2D animations kind of 3D. So one of the things we're playing with is like augmented reality portals. And so you can put 2D visualizations kind of in a box and make you feel as if you're in this new world with all of those 2D animations and art. So that's a way we can do 2D, but really we're trying to do 3D and kind of like Pixar level art. That's like the bar. So trying to get there, and just in the year we've really been doing the augmented reality art stuff. We've kind of moved, I think, a lot of strides. So I have some AR stickers that I'll pass out, so you guys can download the app and play with them. And so the Electrifly is the very first one, and so you can kind of see the progression of how the art has come along.
You got one last question over here to your left. And stretch it out. There you go. There you go.
Hey, Moody, great presentation.
Thank you.
So my question is, so you showed the wave of companies earlier and how if you want to get to your audience, you have to jump on the platforms or the technology of the day. Then you have situations where you're reaching your audience, and like I have a friend who was asking me to look into building her email platform, like email campaigns on an app. And I'm wondering, like, what do you have to say about where you kind of just have, like, I have like 100 apps on my phone, for example, right? Is that the only way to reach your audience? Because then you get to critical mass, and then you're wondering, are they going to download my app, or is marketing the only way to like really drive the push for that app kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that the phone manufacturers are working on this stuff. And so like what we're seeing is that, Apple and Google, they don't want another Google Glass flop. So what they're doing is they're working on mobile first, because they know mobile is already in everyone's pockets, and it's really the quickest access and best way to distribute this content. And so they're working on these mobile platforms, and eventually they're gonna come out with smart glasses. So they will have Apple Oakley-like smart glasses that you put on, let's say within 5 years. And they will be stylish, and they will be sexy, and they'll be something that you actually want to wear. They won't look like Google Glass. They won't give them to a bunch of glass holes, at first to try them out. So they'll do it right. But I think like we can look at the QR code as an example. So I think like just recently, a couple of years ago, Apple integrated a QR code scanner into their camera. And QR codes have been around forever, like since the 80s. So they can make that technology native to the camera and make these experiences happen that way. And I think that's kind of where it's going.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, let's hear it from Moody, founder, CEO, BrandXR. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
And if it's anything that the Tigers need right now is a string of wins. And I think the Electrify app is just that. So good luck on your presentation later on, my man.
Appreciate it.
Definitely. Let's hear it one more time for Moody.